This week on Dance of Joy, we talk about Eddie Mumphrey, Young Snob, Bing Crosby, and the Aga Khan. All that and more as we watch Season 4, Episode 5 of our favorite 80s hit sitcom, Perfect Strangers. Hello and welcome to Dance of Joy, a Perfect Strangers rewatch podcast. My name is Sophia. I'm one of your hosts, and joining me, as always, is my brother and co-host. What's up, Imran?
Hi, Sophia. We are doing splendid today, as in the royal we.
We?
You know, the royal
Is there someone there with you?
No, I was actually, you called me in the middle. I was just emailing a buddy of mine. I don't want to brag, but I'm kind of friends with some royalty.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're taking on I, we pronouns.
Yes, the we, yes.
We, they pronouns.
You know, my buddy, he's...
We, I, we.
He's, my buddy, this is how I talk to my buddy. He's a Nigerian prince, you know, and he's just...
boy.
He's fallen on some hard times. I let him use my bank account.
How much money have you given?
No, I let him. He said he's going to put money in my bank account. So, we're buddies. So I sent him the bank information. It's fine. He's royalty. He's he wouldn't screw we over, would we? I don't know. Maybe I shouldn't
We'll find out. We'll find out all about all this we business in today's episode of Perfect Strangers, which is Season 4, Episode 5. And the episode is titled High Society.
We're back to some film references, some pop culture references with this title. It is the title of a classic 1956 movie starring Bing Crosby, Grace Kelly, and Frank Sinatra. And one of those people is going to come up again. I'm not going to tell you who.
Right. And this movie actually sounds like a movie we should watch with these like, three big stars. High Society.
Yeah, that is a huge
I've
cast.
never seen it, but
Me neither.
Maybe I will go and watch it now. Thank you, Perfect Strangers, for broadening my film knowledge.
That's right.
Okay, but back to 1988 when this episode aired. It was November. This episode aired on November 11th. And that week, if you had opened the TV guide to find out what was going to happen, you would have read this description. An invitation from newspaper owner Endicott has the cousins rubbing elbows with the rich and famous who welcome them into their palatial estate, believing Balky is the crown prince of Mypos.
Oh, boy, that sounds like fun. Weren't they rubbing elbows? Didn't he tell them not to rub elbows in that other?
Sounds like your Nigerian prince friend.
It does. It sounds a lot like that. He's a good guy. I trust him.
Yes.
This episode, of course, casts Bronson Pinchot playing Balky, Mark Linn-Baker playing Larry. You get, of course, Joe Murray, Peyton Francis, Harriet Winslow, and a couple of side people we've seen before.
Some of them.
Some we have, some we haven't. Yeah. Carol Bruce, you'll recognize.
Right. And we'll talk about where we saw her before. She plays Mrs. Endicott. We have Robert Cornthwaite as another Endicott. All these like rich people at this party. Norman Bartold. And a couple others,
Yeah, we'll get into these people, but I just love the one credit for one of the guys here. His
Bobo
credit.
Senior.
No, not that. Young Snob. That sounds like a rapper.
Snob.
We'll get to Young Snob as we get into it. But that sounds like some kind of mumble rapper
Roger
today.
Scott, a.k.a. Young Snob.
Oh, MC Young Snob on the scene.
That would be my rapper name.
He's got face tattoos for sure, Young Snob. Yeah.
All right. As we said, we're in November 11th, almost to 1989, but still have some episodes left in 1988. And a reminder to our listeners, Perfect Strangers is now streaming for free on IMDb TV, which is a free platform. You just have to have an Amazon account, not even a paid Amazon account, just a standard account. And you can see all of Perfect Strangers with one short commercial break in the middle. Okay, let's get into it. We start Act 1. We are in the basement of the Chronicle, and Larry's on the phone. Harriet is nearby his desk out, in front of her elevator, and she's just doing a crossword puzzle because what else do elevator operators do in their downtime?
That's some downtime.
You do a crossword puzzle. You work at a paper, you get the crossword puzzle every day. So Larry's on the phone, and we hear him trying to make an appointment with Mr. Endicott, who is the owner of the newspaper. And it sounds like he's talking to a secretary or something. And here we have a little opening gag, a little opening joke, maybe. We hear Larry go into the phone. What? No, well, I'd rather not tell you what floor I work on. The secretary asked him what floor he works on. And then he says, well, if I do tell you, you're going to hang up on me. And then he's like, all right. Oh, I work in the basement.
Oh.
And then he gets hung up on. He's like, hello. And he hangs up and he's very disappointed. And then here comes Harriet with her opening snarky roast remark. And she says, that's amazing. You're as dynamic on the phone as you are in person.
It's harsh, but accurate, I guess.
Burn, Larry. Yeah.
So Larry is trying to reach Mr. Endicott because he has this great idea for the Chronicle. He wants to start an investigative reporting team, but he can't get past the secretary. And he says to himself, Mr. Endicott doesn't listen to me. His secretary won't listen to me. Nobody listens to me. And then he goes, what do you think I should do, Harriet? And Harriet is not listening to him. Harriet is working on a crossword puzzle. She goes, oh, sorry, baby, I wasn't listening.
I totally saw that line coming when he was
Absolutely.
setting it up. I was like, yeah, they're setting up that joke.
Poor Larry. Nobody listens to him.
So that's the little setup. Larry wants to talk to Mr. Endicott. Nobody listens to him. Poor Larry. Then we get this burst of joy at the top of the stairs in the basement, the stairs leading up, and it's Balki Bartokomous. And of course, and this is like the third or fourth or fifth time this season alone
every Balki
that
entrance,
we have a Balki entrance
with
from the top of the stairs with a song and dance coming down.
Yeah.
So today's song and dance is the song Get Happy. Forget your troubles. Come on, get happy. And he's belting it out at the top and he's dancing his way, snapping his fingers down the stairs. And when he gets there, he's like moving his hips and he's singing. And then he breaks out into a full dance with choreography and all this stuff.
He's kicking his arms, his legs, his hands are going out. It's like full body.
Old timey dance.
Yes, moves, jumping, skipping moves. It's fantastic.
And he finishes over at his mail table. So, yeah, I love this Balki entrance. It's becoming very common, but it's just so joyful.
The energy, it brings so much energy every time. And then Larry's great. He walks over and goes, Balki, if you want me to be happy, stop singing. He goes, where have you been? Turns out Balki has been busy delivering invitations to the party that Larry would love to go to. Well, Larry's in luck because Balki goes, cousin, I'm glad to hear you say you want to go to that party because I need a ride. He says as he pulls out 2 invitations. He got invited.
No, 1 invitation. Balki's invitation.
Oh, well, but there was like 2 pieces, like him and a guest. Yes, I don't know.
Okay.
It looked like it was 2.
Maybe it was the envelope.
Oh, yes.
And Larry is incredulous. He's like, what the hell? Balki got invited to the party? And he says, you don't even know the Endicotts. And Balki explains that last week when he was delivering the mail, he met Mrs. Endicott and they had a very nice chat. And he told her he was heir to the throne of Mypos and he told a few jokes. And then she invited him to the party. And Larry's like, wait, what? What did you tell her? And he says, I told her the one about the rabbi and the kangaroo. And he starts going into this joke. And Larry's like, not the joke. Larry, it's news to Larry. He's like, you're an heir to the throne of Mypos? He had never heard that. Balki had never told him that.
By the way, I kind of want to hear what that rabbi and kangaroo joke is, because if you follow his pantomime, he puts like the little hat on and he's bobbing like a
skull
kangaroo.
cap. Yes.
I'm like, oh my God, what is this joke with the rabbi and the kangaroo? I must know it. But we don't find out because we get, I think, a new Balki-ism here.
Yes. So Larry calls him out for never having told him that he was an heir to the throne. And Balki says, I didn't? Well, slap me stupid.
That's great. That's a brand new Balki-ism.
New Balki-ism.
Log that one in.
And Larry is overjoyed by this news. He's like, that's incredible. Are you first in line, second, third? Balki goes 986. And then Larry immediately understands what's going on. And he's not incredulous anymore. And he goes, is everyone on Mypos an heir to the throne?
Yeah, he figured that out pretty quick, didn't he? And Balki goes, well, of course not. Don't be ridiculous. I love this slide. He goes, only the men and a few of the older women with mustaches.
Oh, my goodness. That's so funny.
986 people in front of him for the throne of Mypos.
And then Larry's like, I suppose you didn't get around to telling that to Mrs. Endicott. And Balki's like, cousin, That's common knowledge. So now we find out that the Endicotts actually think he is like some near heir to the throne, like an actual crown prince.
You could see the gears turning in Larry's head. He's like, oh, wow.
And Larry knows that they don't know the real truth. So he's like, bingo, here's my chance. We can go to the Endicotts party and then I can tell Mr. Endicott my idea and then my career will be off. And he says, Balky, life is good. And then Balky says, cousin, I told you I could make you get happy. And then Balky starts singing Get Happy again. Forget your troubles. Come on, get happy. And Larry joins into the choreo.
It's so great.
It's amazing. I love it when they duet, sing, and dance. And we end the scene after we see them sing and dance in synchronized choreography.
And it's such a great moment because
it's so fun.
He's got the mail basket and he's just like casually turning to hand it to Balky, and then right on the beat,
he joins in the step.
They do a little soft shoe and they do a little
I love it.
tap dance, and I was like, look at that, that's great. They're so good at it. All right,
let's talk about this song, Get Happy.
Yes, this is an old song.
Happy is a song that came out in 1930, composed by Harold Arlen and lyrics by Ted Koehler. And this is what we found out about it. It echoes the themes of a Christian evangelical revivalist meeting song.
Okay.
And it was introduced in 1930 in something called the 915 Review.
Well, I think the most famous recording of it is by Judy Garland in the movie Summer Stock. But the song is from 1930, and something occurred to me. Like, you hear this song, and it does. It makes you jump. It makes you bounce around. It's like a ray of sunshine. But if you look at the lyrics and listen, they slip in some dark lines. And I'm like, hold on, what is this song actually about? What are the?
But if it's like evangelical themed, it's maybe not what you're perceiving as dark is like hopeful.
Okay, but it could be taken two ways because the first verse goes right. Forget your troubles, come on, get happy. You better chase all your cares away. Shout hallelujah, come on, get happy. And then the last line,
get ready for the judgment.
Okay,
day.
Hold on a second. okay.
And
the last line throws
we go on.
Yeah.
The next verse. The sun is shining. Come on, get happy.
Okay, I'm with
the
you.
Lord is waiting to take your hand.
Okay.
Shout hallelujah. Come on, get happy. We're going to the promised land.
Wait. We're going where? When are we going? Okay. And then
to the promised land.
Okay. And then the one you didn't really, this is like the least popular verses. There's the next three lines are pretty telling. It's we're heading across the river. Wash your sins away in the tide. It's all so peaceful on the other side.
Yes, they're just hopeful for their
one person's hope
for getting to heaven.
Sounds can be another person's nightmare and dread. I'm like, this is dark, and you're getting ready for like the end of the world. They're like, get happy, just dance.
Forget your troubles. Come on, get happy.
Everything's done. It's over. Come with us. Wow. Okay. That's what people like.
Okay, deep dive into Get Happy.
Yeah.
But back in the basement, it serves as a very joyful song, celebratory song.
Just sometimes there's a weird song.
So we fade to the next scene, and we're at the apartment. And Balky is cooking with many pots in front of him on the stove, like he's mass cooking something. I think we can all guess what it is.
Yes.
At this point. And he's stirring contents, and there's all these different pots simmering on stovetop. And Larry comes in the front door, and he's got like clothing, like new clothing with like the plastic over it. And he tells Balky he's bought a new sport coat, a new pair of pants. And this is a great line. He's like, when I walk into that party, people are going to turn and say, what's that smell?
So good. He tells us what's that
so
smell.
Smooth.
So perfect.
And of course he knows what the smell is because he follows right away with, are you cooking pig snout? And Balky goes, you bet your bibby bop.
Oh my God,
and then the whole audience
a callback.
Goes nuts.
This is great. Like, this is a callback.
And the audience loves it. You can hear the studio audience like roaring.
I mean, that's a season 3 episode from a year ago. That's rare that like they'll do a call. It's so great. I was glad to hear
Bet
Bibby
your
Bop.
Bibby Bop, guys.
And then, he scoops out some Bibi Babka and walks over to Larry with the spoon. And you see, it's like a cylindrical, little fleshy thing of meat. And he goes, cousin, I got 30 gallons of pig snout ready to take to Endicott
30 gallons.
30 gallons. And he goes, and when it's my turn to pick the party game, I'm going to suggest bobbing for snout. And Larry doesn't even say anything. He just gives him this look. And Balky walks away and goes, well, it's a great icebreaker. As he walks away.
Bobbing for snout. I'll keep that.
It's a lot of
for
pig
our next
snout.
office party.
It's a lot of pig snout.
And so Larry starts to Larry explain. He's like, "Oh boy, I have to tell Balky about what kind of a fancy party this is going to be." And he tells Balky, "These people don't bob for pig parts. The Endicotts are rich, and the rich are not like you and me." And then Balky's like, "Nah, they're just like everyone else. They put their pantyhose on one leg at a time. Not pants, but pantyhose on one leg at a time."
Nice twist on that saying.
They go a little bit back and forth with Larry's like, "You think so?" And Balky says, "I do. You do, I do. You do, I do." And then here comes Larry with something we haven't heard in a little while, but it's really nice to hear it again.
A good bit.
Balky, tell me, how many rich people do you know?
And Balky's like,
how many? How many rich people do you know?
None. Balky finally says.
None, as in zero, as in no rich people do you know?
That is correct, Balky says. And then I love this line. This is so great.
Yes. Then Larry says, well, it just so happens that I have envied rich people all my life.
He has studied them.
He doesn't know them, but he has studied them.
Oh, he has studied them.
He says he's very familiar with their customs. And Larry continues explaining to Balky that when rich people invite you into their homes, you have to behave the way they expect you to behave. So basically what that means is that the Endicotts are expecting to see Prince Balky. So Balky has to act like royalty. And this is a great little exchange too. Balky says, cousin, I don't know how to do that. And then Larry says, luckily, I do know how to do that.
I do know how to do that. That's so funny.
And Balky kind of rolls his eyes and says, I knew you would.
I do know how to do that. Luckily for you. It's so good. Oh.
And now I think it's time for something we haven't done in a while. I want to do a little act out for this next exchange.
Oh, Perfect Strangers reenactment. Let's do it.
Who would you like to play?
I will be Balky this time.
Okay, great. And I'm Larry. So this is, mind you, in the middle of Larry explaining how royalty is supposed to act. And Larry says, all right now, first of all, royalty always refer to themselves in the first person plural, never in the first person singular, always in the first person plural. So if someone asks you what you think of the party, you would say,
I think.
Wrong.
You think?
Nope.
He, she, or it thinks?
We think.
We do?
That's right.
What's right?
We is right.
Well, I know we is, but what is we right about?
We is the correct word.
We is?
Now you've got it.
I do?
We do.
We do? We do what? What are we talking about? I don't know what you're talking about. The last thing I knew, I was over there cooking some pig snout.
Balky. Shh. Let me make this very simple for you. Just use the word we instead of the word I.
Wait a minute. You mean I simply substitute the plural personal pronoun for the singular in all cases? Why you don't say so?
My mistake. That was like their own little who's on first.
I loved it. I love that. What is we? We is?
We is?
Well, I know we is. So good.
So that was very clever play on the royal we and kind of a nod to who's on first. Okay, so they continue. We're out of our act out, but they continue. And Larry says again, okay, let's try it. And then they get up, they're standing there, and Larry says, they're doing a simulation. You arrive at the party and someone says to you, oh, welcome, Prince Bartakama. So good of you to come. And you would say, and Balky gets it this time, but he almost, he says, we are very happy to be here, and we would appreciate it if one of you good people would give us a hand with our tub of snout.
He's insistent on bringing the snout.
No snout.
Don't bring the snout.
Don't bring the snout.
And then finally we are at the Endicott's mansion as you get an outside shot of this fancy palatial estate.
Where do you think this is in Chicago?
I don't know. You always want to say like the way north suburbs,
like Highland Park or something,
like a Highland Park or
where Michael Jordan lived.
Yes, near the lake up there, possibly. You see houses. You drive up this one road and you see the houses get bigger, and then you see little guest houses, servants' houses, and the house and the big house in the
Highland
back.
Park.
So it's possible, or it's just some standard shot they bought off somebody.
Well,
it's someplace in California, probably.
No, but I was talking about like where was it meant to be?
But then in
fiction.
It cuts to inside, and we have amazing 80s decor. There's a buffet table. There's people in suits. The wall color is that that green color that doesn't
from the fancy restaurant, from that French or that Italian restaurant.
It's the kind of green that doesn't know if it wants to be blue or be green. It just can't make up its mind. It's hard to be like, what is that? I don't know. It's a greenish blue, bluish green. But yeah, real opulent, gaudy 80s rich man stuff here.
It's very
it's great.
Floral.
Yes.
Yeah. And there's like fancy classical music playing and all these snooty looking people, all white, I might add, milling about. And there's a buffet table with food.
These people are so rich, they have white servants even. That's how rich they are. Oh my God. They got white butlers.
They're handing out glasses of champagne and stuff like that. And so then we see Balky and Larry enter, and Larry's like dressed in his new sport coat and his new pants. He looks nice.
But then Balky, you got to describe this. He rolls it in something fantastic.
So it's black and red themed, and the top is like a tunicky kind of black top with red embroidery, Meposian style embroidery, and there's like a big belt around his waist, belting the tunic. And then he's wearing sandals, and you can see his feet.
Like parachute pants. It's almost a very like Asian inspired. Like samurai or
Mediterranean. Oh, yeah, I can see
almost
that.
like a Japanese thing going on.
I saw it as kind of like Caucasian, like Georgian style.
Oh, yeah. No, it's nice to see him dressed up.
Mediterranean.
I love seeing Meposian dress up clothes.
And so Balky looks around this mansion.
He's impressed.
And he is taken away, and he says King Ferdinand's whole palace would fit in here, and there would be plenty of room left over for his livestock. Oh boy, Balky.
Balky's always worried about the livestock. Somebody has to be. Finally, the Endicott's do come over and they bow and they're like, Prince Spartakumus, and Mr. Endicott bows and says, Your Highness, and they're treating him like you would expect to treat royalty.
Yeah,
like,
and Mrs. Endicott does this awkward curtsy thing.
So this is Carol Bruce. Mrs. Endicott played by Carol Bruce, and I thought I recognized her.
Where did you recognize her from?
She was also the snobby lady in the gallery, Margaret, the Milgram Gallery.
Yes.
In the season 2 episode where they are they. Remember the guy goes, That's they?
She was the one with like the young boyfriend.
Well, I never.
Yes.
He's like, you just got to go down over there to the bathroom.
Yeah. Yes.
And then Frank Burney, who plays he plays a guest in this episode. He also played a waiter that episode. And then Mr. Endicott is played by Norman Barthold, who had been on Laverne and Shirley, Falcon Crest.
He's been on a bunch of shows. Yeah, Mr. Belvedere.
You saw this guy everywhere. I recognize this guy too.
Yeah, that's right. He was around. He was big in the 80s. Okay, so here we have the Endicotts. They've greeted Crown Prince Spartakumus. And before we can say anything about it, Mrs. Endicott says to everyone, attention, everyone, may I present His Highness Balky Bartokumus, Crown Prince of Mepos. And everyone applauds.
Oh my God, she gives them a big intro, the whole room.
And Balky's like, oh, this is nice, thank you. And they say that they're honored with his presence in their home. And Balky says, oh, it's a lovely home. We were just remarking that it would be perfect for the king's livestock. And then the Endicotts are just kind of like, what?
They take it as a compliment. She goes, oh, you are too kind. And I love this bit because this is something we haven't seen Balky do in a while either. She goes, you're too kind. Balky goes, I'll go on with you. And shoves her really hard all the way
on
back
the shoulder
onto Mr. Endicott. And Larry, being quick, steps up. He goes, oh, you'll have to excuse the prince when he meets someone. He likes to give them the royal shove. And she's like, Miss Endicott's like, how delightful. And she gives Balky a little pushback, and she goes, I hope I don't get the royal bruise, making a joke. And then he shoves her again real hard.
Really hard.
That's you crazy. She's crazy this one. So funny. So funny.
And so then the Endicotts excuse themselves to go greet other guests. And Balky's like, yes, no problem, Mrs. Endicott. And then we find out their names because she says, oh, no, please call us Muffy and Bobo.
Okay, so she's Muffy.
She's Muffy, and the Mister is Bobo.
Bobo. Muffy
Bobo.
and Bobo.
What kind of rich people
These are
names
really weird.
are these?
Really?
Muffy and Bobo.
Muffy Endicott. These are really weird rich people names. And I love this as she steps away and Larry tries to get her and he's like, Mr. Endicott, I was hoping. And then he just goes, excuse me. He turns around and
walks away.
He doesn't even walk that
Poor
far.
Larry,
He just walks 2 steps over to the back. Couldn't even make it look good. He does not want to talk to Larry.
And then Balky, poor Larry. He's going to try.
He's going to try.
And then Balky sees the buffet table and he says, cousin, look at this. Everybody brought food. I knew I should have bought the pig snout. He doesn't understand the buffet table.
Yeah.
Larry just tosses it aside. It's too late for that now. And then he tells Balky to go and get something to eat because he's going to try to talk to Mr. Endicott.
And now this last scene in Act 1 is so weird.
It's weird.
It's very strange, right?
Really get it. And we get that sort of like that clowny music.
Oh, yeah. It's full of clarinets and harmonicas.
Yeah, that clown
There's a lot
music.
of great musical cues this episode, if you notice, when they're fighting. This part, they use music a lot this episode.
And there's like one cartoony sound effect.
Yeah, there's always the wah-wah.
That's coming.
So here's what happens. Balky approaches the end of the buffet line, right? And he's waiting there patiently. And there's a bunch of people just standing there with plates and food. The first guy next to him looks at him and does the old, oh, please, after you gesture, right? Because I guess he realizes she announced he's the prince. The prince is here. Let the prince get something to eat. So then he moves in one slot, and the next lady, she does the same gesture. Oh, please, after you. He walks by her, grabs a plate, and the remaining 4 people continue to go, oh, please, after you, as he walks by them. I thought the gag at this point was going to be that he gets to the end of the table. He has no food. He's just he's standing
that's
there.
What I thought it was going to be too.
That's not what they do.
No. So now he's at the front, I guess the front of the line.
All the way to the left. He's walked by. Everybody has let him go in front of them.
Yeah. And he's just saying thank you the whole time. Yeah. He's like, thank you.
Please.
How nice. And he has this empty plate. And so he's to the far left of this buffet table. He picks up a piece of food and puts it on his plate. And the entire line of people to his left or right mimics him.
What is going on?
Exactly, with the same hand, picks up a piece of food, puts it on their plate.
What is happening? He does it again. He picks up another item. They all pick up another item again in unison.
Then he notices they're all mimicking him.
At this point, Larry has also walked back in the room and he is observing all this. From the back
this is like
of the
a
room.
weird
so
scene. So Balky at this point notices that they're all copying him, so he decides to have some fun with it or test it out to confirm. So then he takes something off of his plate and throws it back onto the table, and they all do the same thing.
Like robots.
And then he does like a little trick you out thing where he puts his plate out and then pulls it back in, and they all do the same thing. And then he does this, how would you describe this?
So he does this move where the plate is on your hand and you're going to turn it in towards your body under your armpit.
Yeah, it's like a juggler's
while
move.
keeping your plate level and then like flip it. I'm trying to do it now. I don't even know how he did it. And essentially, everybody tries it and spills all their food all over them, and the plates go flying.
And then he just like laughs about it like a jerk.
And Larry sees this, and instead of saying anything, he just turns around and leaves the room, which is also kind of funny.
And Balky's like laughing at these people.
I'm like, well, this is
not very characteristic of Balky.
Such a weird scene. It was funny, I guess, but it was very strange.
I mean, I get it. They're trying to show that they all think he's a prince, and they want to copy what he does. I don't know. They're not going to eat until he eats or something like that.
But he fakes them out and gets them to spill all their food.
Yeah, I didn't get it.
Well, and that brings us to the end of Act 1. Listener, did you get that scene? What? Can you explain it to us? Join the conversation. We have a Facebook group. It's called Dance of Joy Podcast Facebook group. And you can submit your thoughts and observations to every episode as we go through them. I post a thread of every episode we're doing. You leave your thoughts in there. You meet other wonderful, perfect strangers, fans, and listeners. And then we'll share them on the show later. You're going to hear a couple from our listeners. That's all in the Facebook group. Link is in the show notes of this episode.
Okay, Act 2. We are still at the Endicott's party. Balky is sort of on the other side of the room from the buffet table. He's by this couch and coffee table, and Mrs. Endicott and a couple other party goers approach him, and Mrs. Endicott said, "Your Highness, would you mind terribly if we joined you?" And Balky says, "Why? Are we coming apart?" And then he does that laughing at his own joke thing.
It's a bad one.
And he welcomes them and they all sit down in this little area on the couch and surrounding couches.
And one of the people, the guy sitting in the chair, this is Young Snob, MC Young Snob, making his rap debut. Because he starts talking, he's like, "Your Highness, I'd be honored if you drop by the country club next week because we could play a little golf." And I knew the minute he said little golf, this was going to be the joke.
Yeah.
Because Balky goes, "Oh, we love little golf. We're especially good at the windmill hole." And the guy's like, "Oh, Prince, stop."
Young Snob gets all young snobby.
He gets all young snobby. You know what?
Prince,
he's
stop.
He's not even that young looking. To be honest, he's like middle-aged snob.
Young Snob looks old.
But that's young Snob. Played by, we should give this guy his due. He did a good job. Roger Scott playing Young Snob.
Young Snob. Roger Scott, if you're out there, you did a good job.
Young Snob's got a couple of great tracks on SoundCloud you can find. He's self-produced, of course. No label will have him.
And then Mrs. Endicott asks Balky, and they're calling him Your Highness this whole time. She says, "Tell me, Your Highness, what do you think of American women?" Which is why would anybody ask that except to set up for this joke in the script? But what kind of question is that?
She just wanted to know how other countries perceive American women? I don't know.
But it is a good setup for this joke because Balky then answers, "Well, we think they spend a little too much time trying to remove excess facial hair. A trap we're glad to say you didn't fall into."
That is
burn, Mrs. Endicott.
Such a great compliment insult line.
Burn, Muffy.
It's so fun. She's like, "Oh, well." Luckily, Larry is come into the room at this point, and he interjects. He's like, "Oh, it's a pity the mepiate humor doesn't translate into English or any other language for that matter." And so...
And then, This is great.
Yeah.
This part is great. The next question. "Your Highness, I've been wondering why in the world would a prince be working in the mailroom
That's a good question.
of my husband's newspaper?"
It's a good question, Muffy.
And before Balky has a chance to answer, Larry steps in and he explains that His Highness didn't want anyone at the Chronicle to know he's royalty, to know he's an heir to the throne. And he continues telling them that Balky came to this country to find a wife, but he wants her to love him for himself, not for his wealth and power and place in history. And here is the best, what do we call it? Sample bit from Young Snob.
Young Snob steps in right here, steps up.
And Young Snob goes, "That sounds like that Eddie Mumphrey movie, Coming to America."
Oh, Young Snob.
Oh, Young
So
Snob.
uneducated and so snobby. But yes,
so Coming to America,
is the
a film
plot.
we all know and love. That is the plot of Coming to America.
Coming to America, 100%.
And Coming to America came out in June of 1988, so a few months prior.
It was huge. It is a great movie.
It was huge. It's still huge.
They recently did a sequel on Amazon Prime called Coming to, the number 2 instead of the word 2, Coming to America. Not as good. It's kind of like the first movie done over with, But original Coming to America, that is a classic movie.
But it's so funny that they just
Eddie Mumphrey movie.
copied the story, but
Yes.
it's and then they called it Eddie Mumphrey.
I thought that was quick thinking on Larry's part because totally you could fly. You're like, these rich white people haven't seen Coming to America.
Yeah, but Young
you know
Snob.
what? Give credit to Young Snob.
Young Snob, he knows.
Maybe he's a little more cultured than I'm giving him credit for. Like, you saw Coming to America, Young Snob, good for you.
But he can't get Eddie Murphy's name right.
How do you forget Eddie
Eddie Mumphrey.
So at this point, Balky is now disturbed at this story and stands up and he goes, everyone stands up. He stands up, hey, I'll stand up. He goes, would you excuse us? And then he goes, and them.
And them.
Points to Larry and takes him over, has an aside with Larry. And he's upset because Larry just told a big fat lie. And is Larry aware that you just lied? And Larry's excuse is, I was so excited about meeting Mr. Endicott, I forgot that lying was a bad thing.
Oh, my God, that's a weird line, too, yeah.
But Balky warns him, look, if you don't stop, I'm out of here. And Larry's like, okay, it's okay. No more lying. I'm better now. And just as he says that, Mr. Endicott walks in with his posse. He's got a posse.
And they're dressed in polo outfits.
Yes, they
costumes,
have
uniforms,
polo sticks. They have a ball. They got a helmet. And he's like, attention.
Polo shirts.
We need 2 more for polo. Does anyone play? And instantly, Balky raises his hand, lifts Balky's hand, and goes, we do.
We do.
No, what are you doing, Larry? Oh, damn.
Right into another line. So then we cut to the next scene, and it's Balky and Larry re-entering the same room, but the party has emptied out or moved to another room, and they are in polo outfits that are tattered. Okay, they're just like torn up. They're dirty. They're grass stains. There's like blood stains. This and that. They have dirt all over their faces. They're like wobbly legs walking into this room.
Yeah, Balky's having trouble walking straight.
They just look like they're in pain.
They got a blue sash that's hanging. It looks like they've been working on a car. Like I don't know how they got.
They're just dirty.
It's just a
and
mess.
They look like they're in pain.
And there's some great lines here. Every line in this scene is so funny.
Larry says, "I didn't know polo would be so hard."
Balky's like, Cousin, think about it. Hitting a tiny ball with a stick while riding a galloping horse at full speed is not a skill you can fake.
And this is the best Larry line. I thought the horse would do more.
I love how he says it too. Like he actually thought the
horse would do more.
Actually thought the horse would do more.
That's a great line.
Oh no. But now it's time. We're done with polo. Balky's like, it's time for me to tell Muffy and Bobo the truth.
And Larry tries to stop him because if Balky tells the Endicotts that he's not a prince, Larry thinks they're going to throw them out and he'll never get his chance to talk to Mr. Endicott. And then Balky says, nevertheless, the truth must be served.
Truth. Larry's like, can't you serve it later?
And Balky says, no, it's getting cold.
And then you hear a little music cue. There's some music that raises the tension in the scene.
Yeah.
Because they're just staring at each other. And Balky's like, you realize I have to go now. And Larry goes, yes, I know. You know I'll have to stop you. And Balky's like, yes, I know. So they're about to get into it.
And Balky starts to walk toward the dining room doors, the dining room, presumably where everyone else is now. And Larry just sort of does that whole like grabs him in a bear hug from behind.
Yeah, pulls him down.
As he often does. And they go down on the floor and they're like, you know, in a tussle on the floor, and Balky's trying to crawl toward the dining room, and Larry's holding on to him. He grabs him by the face, by the nose, and Balky's like, not the nose, not the nose. And Larry lets go, and he goes, it's the pride of Meepos.
A little break.
And then a little break for a joke. And then they continue wrestling and struggling, rolling around. And Balky's still trying to crawl toward where everyone else is. And Larry, I think, like, grabs the dining room table, perhaps
the buffet
thinking
tablecloth.
The tablecloth, perhaps thinking it was affixed, and I don't know why
hold
he
him
back. I don't know why he grabbed it, but he grabbed it for the comedy, I suppose. And the whole it's a tablecloth, so the whole buffet, everything, all the items come crashing down onto the rug that they're on,
and
that they're wrestling on.
This noise brings everybody in.
But here's my guess. Everybody in, led from the dining room, led in the front by Mr. and Mrs. Endicott. Mr. Endicott, who's already back in a fancy suit. Wasn't he also playing polo out there? How did he get... He was in the polo outfit, too.
No, he's showered and suited up already. No problem.
Okay.
He's got servants. He just has to stand
early.
there. He's rich.
Okay.
Yeah, these guys didn't have time, and he's like, zip, 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 I'm ready to go.
Yeah, so they come back. And of course, so they heard this crashing noise. All the buffet came to the ground. Balky and Larry are a hot mess on the ground on this rug. And they look up to the crowd of people and they do their signature simultaneous hi. And they're still on the ground, and Balky starts to explain to Bobo something, but Larry picks up a plum from the mess on the ground and puts it into Balky's mouth to keep him from talking. And at that moment, when he puts it in his mouth, there is like this weird cartoon side effect. Yeah, like that is like so weird because they've never done that kind of thing on this show.
It's getting
Why
cartoony.
would they put one random cartoon sound effect?
The whole scene before where they're tussling has music underneath the whole thing, you know, all of a sudden punctuating this.
Music, but not like this cartoony thing sound effect.
Yeah, it's great. I loved it.
You liked it?
I thought it was just funny.
Like, imagine, like, it sounds like if you were plugging up a hole in a video game, that's the sound would have made.
Yeah. This is also, Balky can't talk, and Larry, this is Larry's chance, right? So Larry stands up and puts his foot on Balky's back, holding him down. He could be choking while he has a plum in his throat. Mm-hmm. He can't talk. Mm-hmm. And Larry's like, oh, Bobo, I'm so glad I ran into you. And he finally tells him the idea he has for the paper about setting up an investigative reporting unit along the lines of Woodward and Bernstein. He's like, I'd be happy to head up the team. He cites some statistics that say it increases revenue and circulation. And he's like, I think this is the thing the Chronicle needs. And there's Pulitzers. And right away, Mr. Endicott didn't even get to think about the idea. He just goes, a bad idea.
Oh, my God.
He says, I had an investigative team in my last paper I owned. They got me sued for $38 million. Wah, wah, wah. Wah, wah. And then at that point, Mr. Endicott goes, what was your name again? And just quick as a bat.
Without a beat.
It's like, McGregor. Joe McGregor. And then he helps Balky up finally and then hits him in the stomach so the plum comes flying out.
Yeah, he pumps his stomach so the plum pops out. That could have used a cartoony noise too, but there wasn't one
coming out. Just the noise going. McGregor.
And so the plum pops out of Balky's mouth and he just goes, that's better. And then he goes, he messes up the names. He goes, Buffy, Momo.
Buffy and Momo. And I was like,
Muffy and Bobo.
It's Bobo. Not Buffy, Momo.
And he apologizes about the mess that they made. And Mrs. Endicott says it's nothing.
Is it nothing?
But she's lying because she's like a Persian rug, a gift from the Aga Khan. Small price to pay for the honor of your highness's company, but we find out that it is actually like a very fancy gifted rug.
Who is the Aga Khan?
Okay, so the Aga Khan is a title actually, and it's the title held by the imam at any time, whoever the imam is of the Nizari Ismaili Shias.
Oh, the Shia,
which is
Shia
certain
group.
Regions, certain kind of Shia from certain regions of the world. There's like communities in Africa, South Asia, all over the place. And the Aga Khan, like nowadays, is also like a very charitable kind of runs a charitable organization. Anyway, since 1957, it's been the same Aga Khan.
Oh,
it's the 49th Imam, Prince Shah Karim Al Husseini. Is Aga Khan 4.
So this is presumably who Mrs. Endicott met and got this rug from.
Yes.
This is the Aga Khan.
Aga Khan 4. Presumably the same Aga Khan as today.
That's such a weird that they would use that title. I wonder how many people knew what that was.
Maybe Persian, it was more well known in the
80s.
I mean, I know it's well known in some fields and some circles, but maybe in the 80s it was a bigger deal. I mean, it was more well known about the Aga Khan.
Yeah, I was like, who's the Aga Khan? But Muffy says a small price to pay, the rug, for the honor of your highness's company. And that's when Balky's like, well, we got to talk about that. And Larry's like, do we really? Do we really? I mean, I've said everything I have to say. And then
Balky goes, let it go, Joe.
Let it go, Joe. He calls him. And then he tells them, I'm not the kind of royalty you think I am. I am heir to the throne of Mypos, but so are all the other men on Mypos and a few of the older women with mustaches, at which point everybody in the room takes a step back.
Yeah, like they just found out he was contagious or something.
Like he had some kind of disease, and they're just like, what? And they back up, and Buffy's like, oh, look at the time. Why don't we all go in to dinner? And everyone starts heading to the dining room, and Balky and Larry are following them. He's like, Balky's like, I told them the truth. They didn't throw us out. Just as they shut the door to the dining room in front of them and lock it. And Balky's like, Bobo, Muffy, you accidentally locked us out.
He goes, Muff,
it's me.
And then Balky has to break it to him. It wasn't an accident, Balky. They locked us out on purpose. And then Balky says, you mean they pretended to be my friends, but they're not? And Larry says he's sorry he ever came. And he says, forget about the Endicotts. If they don't want you as a friend, well, they're the ones who are messing out. And then he says, and he's on this rant about rich people. Yeah. He's like, you have more class in your little finger than all of them put together.
That's so sweet, though, that he says that.
And he says, all rich people are snobs anyway. And then from the side of the room, we hear a man say, horse apples.
Horse apples. I noticed this guy hang back and sit down when everybody left. I was like, what's up with that dude? What is he doing? And he's been...
Horse apples.
Horse apples. He's been watching them the whole time.
What is horse apples?
Horse hooey. Horse, that's like saying BS.
Oh, apples. Yeah, like poop.
Horse poop. Horse apples,
poop,
though.
It's the shape of apples, the size of apples?
I guess.
Oh, yeah, because horse poops are
It's a big. Yeah, it's a G-rated version of horse apples.
I'm going to start saying that. Horse apples.
He stands up and walks towards them. He goes, not all rich people are snobs, just those jerks. What do they know? They never worked a day in their lives. And Bucky's like, wow, imagine if they had what they would have if they had worked.
And then he tells them that he's been watching both of them all evening.
That's creepy.
And he says, Balky, yeah, that is a little creepy. He says, Balky seems like a nice kid, but he should get rid of the Royalty Act. And he says he likes Larry's idea for the paper. And Larry's like, sure, but like, Bobo the clown hates it. What does it matter what we think? And the guy says, it doesn't matter what you think, it matters what I think. And we come to find out that he is Bobo Sr.
Oh, it's Bobo's dad, is it? Bobo. I love this. Larry is shocked and he starts going, you're Bobo, you're Bobo.
And Belky says, cousin, this really is no time for your Bing Crosby imitation.
And I did not get that reference, but I still laughed because I assumed it has, Bing saying like that, but that was...
Well, I also did not get the reference, but I did a bit of research, and this was a deep cut here. So Bing Crosby, for those who don't know...
We mentioned him at the top of the show in High Society.
Was in the film High Society that this episode is named after. He was an American singer and an actor. He was one of the most popular and influential musical artists of the 20th century worldwide, a leader in record sales, radio ratings, and motion picture grosses from 1926 to 1977.
Wow.
So like pretty big figure in Hollywood. And but I still didn't get this reference, but I found it. Bing Crosby sings this song called Bobo Boo 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 or Bobo Bo.
Yeah.
And it comes out in 1933 in a film called Too Much Harmony. And we have a clip of the song.
Let's just play a little bit.
Which will make this reference. So remember, Larry's saying, you're Bobo, Bo, you're Bobo, Bobo, Bo.
All the world is saying a boo boo boo.
No, that's not the way it goes, that silly little phrase you hear all day. Dukes and peers and racketeers go boo 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 boo. That's the way they chase their blues away.
So that's what they were saying.
That's what he was imitating. Boo, 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 boo.
That's a deep cut right there, man.
That's a deep cut. It took a few steps to
1933 that song came out.
Yes.
Boo, 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 boo.
So anyway, we find out this man who's hung back is Bobo Sr. and he still owns controlling interest in the paper. And he says he thinks Larry's idea for the investigative reporting team isn't half bad.
This is great because Larry goes, "Did you like it? Did you hear that, Belky? He likes it. You mean I can head up the team?" And the guy goes, "No, that's the half that was bad."
He says, "We need someone who's more experienced, but don't worry, you'll get your chance to be on the team. I never forget a name, Joe McGregor."
First of all, I love Bobo Sr. He shoots straight. He'll tell it like it is. But then instantly Larry goes, "Appleton, my name is actually Larry Appleton. Joe McGregor is just a nickname." And Bobo Sr.'s like, "It's a stupid nickname. Almost as stupid as Bobo." And then he goes, "Skippy, now that's a nickname." As he walks over to the dining room door, he knocks on the door. He goes, "Open up, it's Big Bobo." And the
Big
door is
Bobo.
open. And he walks in, and the door's shut
And he
behind
is
him.
listed in the credits as playing Big Bobo.
So Young Snob's other guest rapper is
Snob.
Big Bobo.
Big Bobo,
I will go see this
that'd be a
tour
good
of
pair.
Young Snob, MC Young Snob,
Big
DJ Big Bobo.
featuring DJ Young, DJ Big Bobo.
They should get a group together right away.
So he disappears into the dining room, and Belky and Larry are still left in the middle of this mess they made. And then we hear the familiar lesson time music, and here comes the lesson. Belky says, "There you go, cousin. All rich people are not snobs. Big Bobo was very nice to us." And Larry says, "Well, he didn't invite us into the dinner party."
No, he didn't.
To the dinner. And Belky says, "Don't you worry about that. I've got 30 gallons of pig snout at home with your name on it."
It's a lot of pigs.
So what is the lesson? That's it. All rich people are not snobs.
I guess that's the lesson. Some of them are. One of them will be nice.
That's the lesson. Not a very deep lesson here, but
very quick lesson.
And roll credits.
Listener, check out our website for some great swag you can get and wear. You can wear a Dance of Joy podcast t-shirt or hoodie or drink out of a Dance of Joy podcast mug or put it on your phone. We got cell phone cases. Visit danceofjoypod.com/shop. It's another way you can support the show and spread the word of the Dance of Joy. It's joyful. You know what? This was a fun episode. There was some.
Did you like it?
There was some, there was some singing, there was some dancing. I thought the writing was very tight. Like every line has a purpose, right? There's really not too much throwaway.
Except for
that one whole scene.
Weird scene at the table with all at the buffet table.
That's like, they couldn't come up with enough to fill the time, and I wonder where that came from.
Weird cartoony sound effect that was.
That's
weird
just
too.
Funny. Yes, they're toying with the cartoony stuff.
But yeah, I agree. It was generally a fun little episode. Not a deep lesson or realization at the end. But
Larry does get his idea to someone that can do something about it. So he's successful.
So I have a question for you. Have you ever? What's the fanciest or richest party you've been to?
Man,
were you nervous and did you know how to act?
I don't think I've been to something that fancy or even worked something that fancy. There's two, like you could work these parties. That's always sometimes fun. But I feel like you probably have more opportunities. I don't. I go to parties in artists' lofts and warehouses and art galleries,
Yeah, I've been to some fancy parties, but I can't think of one.
I don't know. I mean, it is a lot of stress. You got to dress up nice. You got to have the right clothes. You got to lie and pretend like you make money.
You have to know how to act.
Yes.
You have to not spill food on yourself.
I would be a disaster. I would be like Balky. I'd spill everything on myself.
I'm trying to think. I can't think of anything super duper fancy. I'm sure I've been to some, but
I mean, I don't roll in those circles, I don't know.
No. Let's hear what our listeners had to say about this episode. So over in our group, we've got a nice discussion about this episode. We have cousin John Adama, who said, after several bad searches on the internet, I'm fairly certain there isn't a rabbi and kangaroo
God,
joke.
I wanted to hear this
Well,
joke.
we can fix that. Hey, listeners, let's do a little contest. Let's make a rabbi and kangaroo joke. I don't know if that's acceptable these days.
I don't even know if you can do that anymore, but
it has to be a clean, non-offensive rabbi and kangaroo
Now that's
joke.
a challenge. You can
There's
make
a
a
challenge.
clean rabbi and kangaroo joke.
Cousin John also writes, Mrs. Endicott is played by Carol Bruce, which we've said, who played Neil Page's mom, Joy, at the very end of Planes, Trains, and Automobiles.
Oh, that's where else you see her. That's great. I love that movie,
and the cartoon Mario sound effect when Larry shoves an apple in Balky's mouth, not necessary.
It's not necessary, but it's...
We're split on that.
so
Imran
goofy.
likes it. I thought it was weird.
I like bad things sometimes. It's goofy.
Oh, also a note about Big Bobo was played by Robert Cornwaite, most memorable to me as Windish control scientist on Get Smart.
Oh, but he was on Get Smart. Yes.
Big Bobo.
Would you believe...
And this is what I like about Cousin John. He always gives us a overarching review of the episode.
Yeah.
So Cousin John writes, the episode title and focus on fancy pronouns make it sound like it'll be a gentle jab at the rich. Instead, it was just another boys sneaking in where they don't belong story. It has some funny gags and visuals, but for me, this is a rare occasion where the final gag about Larry getting the credit he deserves really feels earned and funny.
Yeah.
Also, what if Larry just made an appointment through the secretary? Trying to look professional while talking about work at work makes more sense than hoping to bring it up at a party. I mean, the only real problems are it's boring and unfunny. But he couldn't make an appointment through the secretary because she hung up on him.
She finds out he's calling from the basement.
Yeah, that was the problem.
Yeah. I admire the guys.
He tried.
I admire the guy's hustle and thinking outside of the box.
Yeah.
And yes, he gets his idea to somebody that matters. So that's what I said. Good. I'm glad. I love that, John. It's great. Cousin Pam says, conservative Larry jumps at the chance of playing polo, a sport he knows nothing about, that has defined rules and will end in failure and embarrassment, just to tell an idea to Mr. Endicott. Isn't there inter-office mail?
That's true. Why isn't he worried about his back now?
Oh, my God.
His bad back.
You're telling me you went out there and you saw horses and you were like, yeah, I can fake this. This is the problem. Really? And then Pam continues, this episode is so out of character for Balky and to an extent even for Larry. Balky is fun-loving, but he wouldn't mock people as he did in the buffet line. Larry's schemes may be over the top, but this one has soared to a new height. And Balky and Larry would never have a public physical fight. I'm afraid I must rate this episode 7 out of 10 Bubba Steakies, and I'm being generous.
And some other members of our group agreed with that.
Yeah, I mean, was Balky really mocking them? He was just like playing with them. I don't know. Maybe he was mocking the rich. But you got to mock the rich. Otherwise, what is the point? What is the point of having rich people if you can't make fun of them?
Yeah. Okay. We have one utterance of "Don't be ridiculous."
Of course, I have. Don't be ridiculous.
You gotta have one of those.
And we have Dimitri back in this episode.
Yeah, he is sitting on the bookshelf back there with a tiara, getting ready to go to a party.
To a fancy
party.
Little
cape
and
on.
a robe.
Yeah, he's got a robe.
Yeah.
He's all dressed up for the fancy Endicott party. They should have taken him.
They should have.
Yes. But we can also catch up with Dimitri the Sheep on Instagram account, Dimitri Sheep, on his very own Instagram account.
That's right. Let's check out Dimitri Sheep's post for this episode. It is... the location is marked as Pig and Prince Restaurant.
Oh, that sounds like a real restaurant. I'm going to go there.
And we see that does. Actually, it sounds like a hipster.
It sounds like a hipster restaurant.
We have a hipster restaurant in DC that's like nose to tail. It's just called The Pig. And it's like small plates, but it's all different parts of the pig.
Girl and Goat. There's one called the Girl and Goat. I forgot
Pig and Prince Restaurant.
Pig and Prince Restaurant. It's perfect.
And in the photo, we see Dimitri Sheep on top of a table with a fancy looking tablecloth on it. And Dimitri Sheep has like a fancy, what is this? A hat or like a fascinator type thing?
Yeah. It's
fancy headwear.
Headdress.
It's like headdress. It's like frilly and black and has a fancy, what do you call this kind of mustache?
It's like a curly Salvador Dali mustache.
Yeah.
The Salvador Dali. Yeah.
Okay, and then in front of Dimitri Sheep is a plate with some French written on it, so fancy because it has French. And there's some like cherry tomatoes thrown about on the plate. And then next to the plate is a copy of The Great Gatsby, another fancy party.
Yeah, I've got
and there's a little piece of paper that says dress code on the other side.
Code.
And then there is like a postcard or something of some high heel shoes that are made to look like pigs.
These are pig high heel fancy dress shoes?
Pig heels.
This this must be to represent the pig snout, I assume.
The pig snout and the fancy
And the
party
fancy
in
party
one.
all in
Yeah.
one. Yeah,
I like it.
That photo is very
But who
strange.
would wear these shoes?
I don't know.
And-
Are those real
yeah.
shoes? They're pig shoes. They're high
Pig
heel
shoes.
pig shoes.
Pig high heel shoes.
That's
Anyway,
fantastic. Well done.
it is a lovely post by Dimitri Sheep. As always, head on over to Instagram and follow Dimitri Sheep, who is going through this rewatch journey with us and posting a themed post for every episode that we review. And now it's time for the segment of our show that we call Perfect Strangers Today, or PS Today, in which we discuss how this episode or this story would hold up if it were to be remade today in 2022. Do you have thoughts? I have some thoughts.
I mean, the premise is still kind of solid. Like, if you want to get in front of someone and they're so busy and you know they're going to be at a gala or a benefit or a premiere, you're going to try to sneak into that place and pretend like you act there.
Or go to some party.
Or go to some party and try to find them. So overall, that works. I don't know about the polo. What would the polo be now? Do people
Polo would be like lacrosse, or
people still play polo? The rich people
I don't know
still play
what rich
polo.
people. Rich people, are you listening? Rich people, let us know what you
They all
play.
have bowling alleys in their house now. You just got to know how to bowl. I don't know.
They would be off in a room like trading crypto or something.
Yeah, it'd be like Bitcoin mining for.
Yeah.
That would be their recreation,
NFTs.
their recreation activity.
But the sport would be like, I don't know.
I mean, it might even be basketball.
Croquet
People
or
they like
like-
basketball. Everybody likes basketball. Croquet, yeah, it's these fancy
Croquet or
water
like,
polo.
What's that? Bocce.
Oh, bocce's for old people.
Yeah.
Bocce,
No,
shuffleboard.
it's very big among the young people.
Oh,
in DC. There's
okay.
leagues and stuff. Here.
But what do the rich play now? If you're rich and you're listening, let us know. What is the sport?
What sport would you leave your dinner party to go play?
What sport is appropriate to do in the middle of a big fancy
Tennis?
party?
Yeah.
Tennis,
I don't know.
maybe, yeah.
Maybe tennis, but like not in the middle of a dinner
I know,
party.
that's
That was weird
That's-
too.
that is
Like
strange.
in the middle of the
Yeah.
party, they were like, "We need 2 more for polo.
We're gonna go play polo.
What?
I know you guys all came here to our party. We're gonna play polo.
Just a little pre-dinner polo.
You can't play
match.
cards or something, really? You gotta go
Yeah,
polo.
I don't really understand. Maybe it was a polo party.
Oh,
But maybe I don't know. Okay, another thing that would be, I don't know if how the we joke would play out, because now of course we have almost normalized a singular they,
right, or them or they.
them
Yeah.
as pronouns. So I mean, I think you could still have that gag with a joke.
Well,
but
the royal we is still kind
Yeah.
of understood, like how royalty talks. But part of me was like, wow, this is kind of ahead of its time here. Like, kind of like,
singular.
you're almost going to see something that was going to happen. Because he says that he goes,
Because when he says,
would you excuse us
and them,
and he points.
the them part is normal
Right
now.
that's actually
Yeah.
what you would say in certain situations. So it's like a reverse PS today. Like that actually came true.
Yeah. And did you know that the way that we use you in American English now is actually a singular of a plural? Like you used to be for plural, you all.
Oh, you all used to be.
And it used to be like thou for singular or something, thou or thee or
was
something.
singular you.
And there was a whole shift to start using you as
It's the
singular, and
singular.
it was weird then too, but it became normal.
Oh.
And so they them is not that big a deal.
So these things just happen in language. Like
Yeah.
that's true, because you think
Language
about
shifts and
all
evolves.
the Shakespeare language that is
Right.
not around anymore and has been evolved.
Right.
Interesting.
So they them, people are making a big deal about it, but just make the change and it'll become normal, just like you became normal.
Yeah. That's a good point.
We don't
I didn't
have
think
a
about
you
that.
plural
Yeah.
anymore because you was you plural.
You have to say you all. Y'all.
Yeah, y'all.
Y'all.
But a lot of other languages, many other languages have you plurals.
Oh, they do.
Anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, English doesn't. Anyway, little nerdy grammar side note.
Language is always fascinating and confusing.
Yeah, and the last thing I thought of is there wouldn't, if this story was today, the part about Balki being a crown prince wouldn't hold up at all, because today, of course, you could just Google that and do internet research and find out who's a prince.
Who is the crown prince of Mypos?
Yeah,
that's going to come up.
There's lots of ways to fact check that before having to believe it, and so they would have been found out a lot earlier. So I don't know how an episode would handle that now.
How would the misunderstanding happen? He could be like, I'm like the crypto guy.
Or maybe he looks just like someone who is a closer heir.
Or it's his twin
and they
brother.
all just like think it's him because they're like rich white people who can't tell the difference.
All these immigrants are the same to me.
Yeah. So yeah, those were the only thoughts I had, but pretty much the premise would hold up. Where you had to get in front of someone, but there's a lot of other ways to get your ideas out. Now, again, we fall back on social media. So like Larry could be like tweeting his ideas to the public and get noticed by by anybody of importance.
He could send an email to the owner, but do people really read emails from people they don't know at that point? Like, I don't know, maybe the email's not getting
tweet
through.
The owner.
Yeah.
Maybe the secretary would see Larry's Instagram account.
Like, that's a good idea.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, that's good. That's some great high society hanging out for this week.
High society.
Next week, listener, stay subscribed, stay tuned. We got ourselves a two-parter, part one of a two-parter with what features. I'll give you a little tease. They're gonna be going camping, and it features one of our favorite lines. I believe it's in the next episode that we have again an instance of a line that has
stayed with us.
For
our whole
35
lives.
years, easily. And it's still hilarious to this day. Guess what line it is?
Awesome. Can't
we'll
wait.
find out. In the meantime, you can always support the show by visiting our website and buying us a virtual coffee. danceofjoypod.com/support there's a link to our Buy Us a Coffee page. And we appreciate any and all donations. It helps the show keep going. And it helps put Digdas and Bibi Babkas under our things to prop us up to podcast.
That's right. I quit coffee about 3 months ago.
But virtual
that's
coffee,
only real coffee.
Yeah.
I still drink a lot of virtual coffee.
There's no caffeine in virtual coffee. It's clean.
Yeah, please help my health journey.
Yes,
by
and
buying me a virtual coffee.
And my office chair is made of Bibi Babkas, so I need to replenish them because I'm sitting on them and they get squished. No, I'm kidding. Just any support helps. Buy us a coffee. You can find all of this, sister, on our website, dancewithjoypod.com.
You can find all the podcast platforms that we're on. You can leave us a rating and review and Apple Podcasts. You can also find on our website all the links to our socials. Drop us a message. Show us a picture. Anything. Show your love for Perfect Strangers and for our podcasts on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. You can also just get in touch with us the old-fashioned way. Send us an email at danceofjoypod@gmail.com. Or leave us a voice message right there on our website. But Imran, what is the most important thing our listeners should do?
Always season and curdle your pig snout. Otherwise, it's going to be tough and chewy, and nobody wants chewy pig snout.
This is very, very true. What's the next most important thing our listeners should do?
Well, that's, of course, share this show with a friend, family member, co-worker, your dog walker, the mailman. Tweet it to someone. Uber driver. Let's get MC Young Snob and DJ Big Bobo a record deal.
Yes.
I want to see them streaming on Spotify. But share the show. Word of mouth is the best way to grow a podcast, and we would appreciate it if you do that. Thank you so much for listening.
And now we are so happy.
We do the dance of joy.
Hey, 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 hey.